Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. So in the previous video we learned how to create a very simple login UI in Flutter, and in this particular video we will be working on navigating from one screen to another. So we currently have the login screen which we've built in our previous video, and what we're gonna do now is to create a home screen and be able to navigate from the login screen to the home screen and see how that works. So let us start by creating the home screen. I will do that here by saying home.that, and I'm just going to make this very simple and just put in a very simple text widget, and it will make it stateless widget. So I'll just name it home screen, and I will just put a text that says home screen right in the middle. I can make the size 24 just to give it more visibility. So this video is about navigation. What exactly is navigation in Flutter? Navigation basically means moving from one screen to the other. So you have the login screen, you want to be able to click on a button and actually go to a new screen. In this case, we'll be doing that from the login screen by hitting this button and moving to the home screen. So we have different ways by which we can do that. We have the navigator.push, we have the navigator.pop, we have the navigator.push replacements. There's much more, but for this particular video, keeping it very lean, we'll be using each of these navigation types. Now for the login screen to the home screen, we'll start off by using the navigator.push, which basically just you hit the button and it takes you to the home screen. And this is the example style for writing that. So you, within your action button, within your button on the on press action, you just copy this code and you put in navigator.push, and what it does is it brings up the home screen and puts that at the top of the screen. So navigator.push goes to a new screen, but what it does is it actually adds that new screen on top of the current one, and that's what's going to happen when we click on the button and it goes to the home screen. Home screen would be on top of the login screen, which is basically like a stack. Think of that like a stack of plates. The home screen is just on top, which means that underneath we still have the login screen. Then we also have the navigator.pop, which essentially just pops the topmost widget. In this case, once we've navigated to the home screen becomes the screen at the topmost layer, and when we click on the button on the home screen that says navigator.pop, that takes out the home screen and actually leaves us with what is at the bottom, which is the login screen. And then we have the navigator.push replacements, and we'll be showing the difference between the push and the push replacement. As I mentioned earlier, when you do the navigator.push, that just takes you that just puts in a new screen on top of the current one. But navigator.push replacement actually does a completely different thing. In the case of when you log into an application, you don't want to be able to click on the back button and go back to the login screen. So you don't usually want the user to go back to the login screen once they are already on the home screen. So instead of the navigator.push, what we do is we replace the screen, and that's where push replacement comes up. That's where it comes in. So instead of just navigator.push on login, we'll be using navigator.push replacement. So what happens is that in this case, the login screen is completely removed, the home screen is added on top, and then when you try to press back on the button, you would not return to the login screen. So we're going to explain this in more details once we get right into the code. So we have our home screen here, which is fine for the time being. And then we'll demonstrate how each of the navigator types work. Right, so on the home screen here, very simply for the login button, I will just be doing the navigator.push first, which adds on top of the stack, the home screen. So that'll be a navigator the push. So I'm just going to take this suggestion because that is exactly what I want. The home screen here, we will take the reference at the top of our file and just hit save, which means that the next time I hit login, this will take us straight to the home screen. But before I do that, I will rerun my app because we've created the home screen and we need to rebuild the application. So what we expect now is that the moment the user hits the button, the login screen, it adds in the home screen on top of that as a stack, and then we'll be able to push to the home screen, and then from the home screen would actually try popping back to the login screen. So we have this now, and once I hit, say we have the validation done, or for now, for the purpose of this video, we just go on to click on the button. This is exactly what we have for the home screen, which is pretty much a blank screen. We do not have a scaffold here, is exactly why it looks so weird. So I'm going to wrap this in a scaffold just to make it a bit more presentable. And then I'll be changing this to a body. Remember that a scaffold takes a body, and then I would add a safe area just to make the home text come within visibility. So this is our home screen. So we've successfully navigated to the home screen, and this is as basic as it gets. Now we've shown how we can do the navigator.push, which is where we come from the login screen to the home screen. Now we want to pop back from the home screen to the login screen, and what I would do is on this particular screen, I would just refactor and wrap that in a column and adding a very simple button, an elevated button. Yeah, so just add this in, give it a child, say text is go back, and then I'll save that. Right, I'm gonna centralize all of this. Right, actually, see if we say the main center, yeah, that should bring it right down, and then I can take out this particular one, and then I can add in the cross here because we want it on the row to be centralized, so we can do that. Ooh, okay, so we will go back to adding the center at the top. That works just fine. Right, so now we want to be able to go back to the home screen, and I can take this suggestion that says navigator.pop, and what happens is the moment I click on go back, I'm able to go back to the login screen. Nice and easy, very simple code. But obviously in the case where I just took a screenshot. So in the case where you've logged into an application, you obviously do not want the user to be able to just click on the button or click on the back button on their device and go back to the login screen without properly logging out. So this is where navigator.push replacement comes in. So what happens is that at the point of logging in, instead of using the navigator.push, we'll actually replace that with push replacement, which I explained. What that does is it adds home screen to the top of the stack, but it actually replaces the login screen. So instead of just pushing it on top, it actually replaces what is currently there. So from the home screen, we know that when you click on the login, you can actually come and go. This is simple navigation. And then on the main screen, what I would do now is to change this to push replacement. And once I click this and I click on sign in, I wouldn't be able to go back. So there is no current. The reason why the screen is blank is because there is no current widget on the screen, and we're trying to go to something that doesn't exist, so it shows us the blank screen. So this is navigation very simply. In the next videos, we're definitely going to be talking about data validation and form validation in Flutter. We'll be validating our email and password and putting in some nice checks, handling the form data and validation before the user is actually able to log in. So to summarize this video, we've talked about navigation, which is pretty much moving between screens. I've shown you what navigation of push, pop, and push replacement does. Push allows you to go to the next screen. Pop allows you to go back, and then push replacement moves forward, but it deletes the old screen. If you try to access something that is not there, we get an example of the black screen that we got. So I'll be seeing you in the next video where we talk about the form validation and we continue in this Flutter series. So thank you very much for watching and see you next time.